Thank you to our sponsor, Pinpoint Technologies, your source for direct mail and telemarketing leads. Check them out at www.pinpoint-tech.com.
Santa Margarita Ranch is originally started in 1774 by the Franciscan missionaries. They came up here to establish the mission trail of 23 missions all the way up and down the coast. And so this place was halfway between San Miguel and Mission San Luis Obispo. And the Padres picked it here as a kind of a farm community that would support the mission system in San Luis Obispo. The ancient peaks were actually created 5 million years ago when the tectonic plates collided. And so what happened is the eastbound tectonic plate slid underneath the westbound tectonic plate, which at the time was on the ocean floor. So we have uplifted marine petrified shale seabeds that are a big component of one section of our vineyard. So then we have granite upthrust that come through this ancient seabed, and so we have different, we have hard rock, we have decomposed granite, and then we have this ancient seabed. High limestone, a lot of fossils. The winemakers all love it.
I'd say we have 3 macro climates. We have a lot of microclimates here. They're on everywhere you look on this vineyard. There's a difference, okay? The Syrah vineyard is not, we're not going to harvest all the Syrah at the same time. There's probably 4 different Syrah picks. Our Cabernet, we have multitudes of picks, and it depends on where it is and when it is on the ranch. It's crucial here that our watering has to be dead on, and our our fertilizer, if we're going to use any, has to be dead on. We can't over or underuse. So it takes a lot of management to make sure that this vineyard is going to produce good quality fruit.
This area, Ranch 2, had a lot of problems in trying to get things ripe. It just was really the coolest spot on the ranch. So when we got together, it was one of the first ideas we had to say, hey, let's give it a shot on Pinot Noir. And obviously, Paso Robles Pinot Noir isn't that comes to first to everybody's mind, but we've had a lot of success thus far. We had our first vintage came from just this field on the horizon. There is the field that was grafted first, and we got. How many tons do you think we got, Doug, out of here? About 35. 35 tons, of which we worked personally with about 10 tons of it, and it's been quite successful. Makes a very nice Pinot Noir that we think has a lot of potential here.
But it's certainly not your Paso Pinot Noir. It's only 14 miles to the ocean from here.
8 miles from Edna Valley. Let's keep moving, guys.
All right.
This is one of the oldest continuously operated cattle ranches, and we currently have about 600 mother cows in a natural beef program in partnership with Harris Ranch. It's called their Partnership for Quality, and these are some of our cows right here.
We can mechanical harvest this, and we can hand harvest it, depending on the customer. But right now, what this would be called would be basically a pre-bloom situation. These are your future clusters that will be the grape cluster after bloom, and this is kind of a pre-bloom flower that's going to open up, and then that grape will, each of those individual little flowers, if everything goes right and it sets fruit properly, those will each turn into little grape berries. Okay, and then that'll be your cluster. Then after we go through and determine what kind of set we have, in other words, if you have a bad shatter, where the flowers, you could have a heat spike or some weather event could cause you to lose a percentage of those berries. We try to determine the kind of weights that we have and what the yields will be. Then we'll come back through and we'll take out certain parts of this and strip it off the vine so that everything can concentrate to the clusters that we want to ripen. Okay, and the rest of it will be peeled off. Now we don't do that until we get to a certain stage and we can ensure that we're going to have a reasonable number of grape clusters out there.
It's a high calcium soil like this leads to a very pretty wine. You don't have the heavy weight that like clay-based soils have. The porosity here is just really magnetized because of all this rock formation. It just flows right through. So one of the things we're trying to work on, and actually started working on in the 07 vintage, was as we were picking down a hill like this, we're suddenly isolating half-ton boxes and making marks on these boxes, saying, look, box came from this knoll. And so we're taking that to the winery and isolating that off. So yeah, it goes back to the question earlier as far as we're not just taking machine harvesters and just handling it all. We're going in and finding these little tiny spots and just isolating it and making specific wines. But as far as the resultant wine at this point, it's still hard to tell because we're so young at it, only a few vintages into it. But any experience would look at a vineyard like this with this amount of calcium and oyster shells and say, look, this is going to be something pretty special.
Each variety tends to flower at the same time, but you can even have variations in flowering events, and that could happen as we have experienced some frost events in places. If a portion of the vineyard gets a frost event, then say the warmer parts will be ahead, so these guys will be this high, and maybe, as you can see, that little vine has a bunch of growth this high. So you could have a 2-week flowering period where and that's not really unusual. As long as most of those clusters flower during approximately the 4 or 5 days, then they're going to be ripening along the same timeline. The big thing right now is that the TTB has quit basically dealing with any sub-apps right now because of a problem up in Calistoga. Okay, so that problem has shut down the AVA discussion about increasing the numbers of AVAs. So right now we're focusing on promoting Paso Robles because that's, to me, #1 and always has been. And then those sub-apps or appellations within the appellation will mean more when you have Paso Robles as the driving force. People will understand where Santa Margarita is if they know where Paso Robles is. Otherwise, they're going to wonder if it's in Temecula or Napa or wherever it is. So that's kind of really the focus right now is for our group, the Paso Robles Wine Growers Alliance there, is to promote Paso Robles, keep the Paso Robles name out front, and then as time goes along, I think within a few years, we'll be able to do things where Santa Margarita Ranch will mean something. Margarita Vineyards are already on some of the really nice labels right now. They're actually vineyard designating, and as time goes along, as I say, we should have a Santa Margarita Ranch. It will be the AVA if we can get it through the process.
We're close to 18 miles from Paso Robles.
Yeah, I think so, and I think Carl mentioned, that our temperatures are lower, and some days they're dead even with Paso Robles. The big difference between us and Paso is, as you can feel, that breeze will start coming through these hills, and we'll be cooling off maybe hours before. It might be 3:30 here and the temperature is already starting to submarine, where maybe Paso Robles, other parts of Paso Robles, it'll stay warm right up until 6, 7 o'clock. So the big deal with us here is degree days, and this is one of the lowest degree day vineyards in the Paso AVA. But we still need those 100-degree days because we need to ripen this fruit, and that's why we kind of get the best of both worlds. And it's a challenging place to grow grapes, and generally where it's a challenging place to grow grapes, the quality of the fruit is going to be exceptional.